for the first day with you here at least. How was it to be back out there with the group?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted, the aim was to be able to say that everyone is back in training, and that's not quite there yet. We'll slowly get there, but a lot more from week one. And what a beautiful day to welcome those returning players back in. So it's great to be on the pitch with everyone and seeing the group grow in size with quantity and grow in quality. Got a bit excited and did a bit too much maybe, but it was fun. It was fun to be out there and seeing these players be on the pitch, more of them for the first time, and showing their quality.
You guys will be dealing with a very strange season with the World Cup and missing some of your top players for a significant amount of time. Do you feel like you're in a position to be able to deal with those absences?
Yeah, an advantage we've got, but there's still this huge challenge. It's a challenging year for everyone. It's a massive year for things you can predict will happen with people coming in and out, and because of that in and out, there'll be things that you can't predict and you've got to be ready for them. But an advantage for us is during that World Cup period where maximum players are away, you look at the group and the roster, and those players played the first 6, 7, 8, 9 games for us last year. We got players that have played, you know, half the season for us that will be playing during that time. So our experience in our roster, the depth in our roster is very strong. That's an advantage and a positive, but we have to use that advantage. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be perfectly smooth. But I've enjoyed looking at what that looks like, because we do lose a huge amount of players. But yeah, we had 9, 10, 11 players missing for the first 6 games last year, and you know, those first 4 went well, and then we wobbled a little bit as we're integrating everyone. So we've been here before, and there'll be some challenges I think we can predict, and then there'll be challenges like every season. Wasn't ready for the challenges that last year for us, so what we learned from that is be ready for anything, and even try and imagine the worst, because it can happen, and don't get caught blindsided. So we've got great options in the roster, and right now it's fun watching them all tussle for each other for opportunity.
Obviously you weren't here in 2015, but this team lost a similar number of players to the World Cup and had the worst season that Thorns has had. Maybe it's the depth, maybe it's the fact this team's been together, but what do you think it is that puts you guys in a different position to better handle it? Yeah,
I can't relate or comment on 15 without there's too many unknowns. I went through it in 15 as well. I didn't deal with the same quantity of players leaving during the World Cup period, but dealt with the same challenges and players in and out of market constantly throughout. You know, it's hard to periodise not just the physical but the tactical and technical, and build momentum in your team when you've got key players coming in and out throughout the year. And in 15, it was a season that when I faced those challenges, we had a very successful season. And while there's challenges, I think there's more areas than the normal season to gain advantage over clubs and over teams. And you know, we managed to do an okay job of that in 15 with the group we had. The challenge actually was when the World Cup players came back that year, we dropped off because you've lost. You know, players are coming into the team and they've been getting hours and hours of training from different countries and different coaches and different styles. So integrating them was a tough one, and that's something I'm aware of. Yeah, so I can only relate to my previous experience. This doesn't relate to that. It's a completely different situation. Our biggest advantage, like I said, is our depth, our experience in that depth, our quality in that depth. We've got a lot of NWSL minutes that will be playing during that period. I'll be honest with you, there'll be a lot of NWSL minutes that won't get on the pitch during the World Cup. No matter way we cut those numbers up, there'll be players on the bench that can't get on the Thorns field, and they've played 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 NWSL games in the last 12 months.
Over the off season, you guys really haven't made many changes. I mean, I think Meg Morris retired. You brought in Dagny. You made a draft pick. You have draft picks from last year coming in, competing for spots too. And Gavin's made it sound like you guys aren't really planning on making additional roster moves until after the World Cup, if anything happens. Why was that the decision to sort of stay with the same roster?
I think the process to always looking for players that fit culturally and fit talent-wise in your team, it never ends, never stops. And there's certainly periods where contract timings of contract ending and things like that work out, and there's times where that's tough, and then there's a World Cup year where players wanting to move is a challenge. What we went through from 17 to 18 was we had 5, 6, 7 experienced, key, senior, talented players leave the roster, and we brought in 5, 6, 7 young, talented, new to the Thorns, new to the club players into the roster. And you can see there in the first half of the season, we didn't have players like Caitlin until the last 3 or 4 games, but we had a lot of change between 17 and 18. If you look at 16 and 17, it was less numbers, and this is similar. Right now, we're looking at a place where we've got a core group. We were never going to go and get 4 or 5 players. The group doesn't need that. Can we bring in 1 or 2? I think we've always got to be on the hunt to do that. We've always got to be looking forward. The group that we have, the quality, and now a lot of those new players that we brought in 18, this is their 2nd year. I think the belief in what they can produce in their 2nd year is strong. And yeah, I think the players that have been here, we have to keep them on their front foot, and they see talent being in the roster or new talent coming in. I think it only pushes them to be better, pushes them to grow. And of course we're a loyal. I'm a loyal coach and loyal person and a loyal club. And the way that we finished the season, that last bit wasn't the way none of us wanted, but the way this group got us there in the first place, the way that the players performed, they came back from adversity. But clearly, in that last game, we got a lot of work to do, and that starts with me.
Speaking of that last game, I mean, in general last year, you guys didn't. North Carolina's the only team you didn't beat. You really struggled with them last year. Given you haven't made a ton of changes, it's basically the same team. What's going to be different this year that you guys need to do to put yourselves in a position to compete better with North Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed, but it doesn't work like this. Fingers crossed we don't deal with having a centre-back out for 10, 11 games and then the other one out for 6 to 8 games, or our goalkeeper out for 10 games, or our number 9 out for 18, 19, 20 games, or we dealt with probably 8, 9, 10, 11 absences that we probably weren't prepared for, injuries and knocks, medium and long term or short term, people coming out of the team the day before, the night before, the day of. I hope we have a smoother year in that sense. And for me, my biggest observation, and I hold myself accountable more than anyone else, there was challenges and reasons why we weren't as good as we would like to be by the end of the season. And there's things that I've taken a lot of time to reflect and want to improve myself. We were a team at the end there, we probably had the whole group together for 6, 7, maximum 8 games. So we were a team that had been growing and improving and moving forward for 8 games. We were playing against a team that had been growing, moving forward for 8 months, and they did an unbelievable job of doing that, and they did it better than us. So remove the challenges of only having the whole group near the end there for 8 games. What I need to be better, and our staff needs to be better at, is if you lose the quantity of training repetitions and training hours and video hours because of the change, how can you improve the quality of what you're doing? How can you achieve more with less? And this year presents us that straight away. We know that we only have certain players for this many training sessions or this many games. So our quality and our impact of our training and meetings and video have to be better than they were last year. And while I repeat that to get in a home playoff and beat the rival and get to that position is an unbelievable achievement, considering what we went through. In the end, it still wasn't enough to get what we came to this party for, and I think that inner drive from that game and also the smart lessons that me as a coach can take from those moments will drive us, and already feel confident that we've made some adjustments that can help make sure whatever our starting point is today or next week or when we get into the tournament games, whatever our starting point is, by the end we've got to be light years ahead of where we are, and that's a journey that's obviously always ongoing.